you need to follow her on YouTube, is my dear friend, Lisa Capoletta.
All right, thank you, Lisa. My joke with Lisa is that I would file a complaint against her, not for making me work in the dirt, but for not allowing me to talk in class. So, and you know, this has been a wonderful experience for me working with my colleagues, because as adjuncts, we really don't get much interaction. And so, while Jason's talking about building job market skills, my focus is on community engagement. Let me get out of here and actually get to the internet. How do I get to the net here now?
Do you see your Chrome?
To the left, down to the left. Okay,
Firefox, okay.
Is that where we are? Yes.
Ooh.
Let me pull up my Prezi. I said I wouldn't use a visual aid, and here I ended up using one. Here it is right here.
Sure.
Okay, so, whoops. I'm used to going to the mic at citizen comments period, so we get up there and we only get 3 minutes to talk, so this is great for me. I get a little bit more than 3. My name's Lisa Marie Capoletta, and I've been an environmental activist since I was actually a college student, 19-year-old, since 1988. And I've run for political office multiple times. Actually, the closest I won was in 2008. I was in a runoff, and I lost by only 200 votes. If the Unicycle Football League had showed up to the polls, I probably would have been elected. So what I decided to do is to reinvent myself, because that's what every good activist does. I noticed most of the politicians, when they lose a race, they move out of town or they go into the private sector, and I just lick my wounds and keep on moving. So I decided to start my own YouTube channel, and that came from an idea from my students. And since then, I've got a couple. I immediately started blogging my election runs, because the press would always misquote me, and they would give my veteran initiatives to the veteran. I'm like, no, the speech radical professor is the one who's actually doing the advocacy for the veterans, so I would show my videos. My current YouTube channel is San Marcos News Live, and as you can see, I've got a nice, robust following from people all over the world. One of my highest hitters is my bug out videos. I used to have a thing called Lady Bug Out, and so I would teach people how to do survival skills. The most recent one for me, and this is related to the service learning, is I like to do flash docs. Because when you're an environmental activist, you don't have time to plan anything. It's pretty much, you just, like I joke with my chair, I just jump that train and go. I ride those hot rails all the way to wherever it's gonna take me. Where it is, I don't know. So what happened is our town, San Marcos, Texas, y'all may have seen it, we've made national news. We had a major flooding incident. And half of my town was flooded out. And this was a direct result from a development that was built in our community. And there were hundreds of people over a period of years who spoke out against that. And so what I did was I made a flash doc. I couldn't help with the flood cleanup because I'm ADA protected from my mold allergies. So I locked myself up like a good little geek, and I shot all the footage of the public hearing footage, and I made a doc to demonstrate to the public what was the causation of that flooding. And later, actually, the studies now prove that it was this development. And immediately, within 24 hours, I got 1,000 hits. And it went viral through the Texas press, through the national press, and then ultimately Al Jazeera picked up my video. I created an aggregate with all the articles of how this specific complex caused a berm, flooding out all of my neighbors and 60 to 30 years worth of memories. And so in my rage, I had to make something to share with the public. This is the actual article that Al Jazeera featured. They didn't give me credit. I don't know why. The YouTube hits would have gone off the chart, but I was just happy that they took the B-roll footage and it created the message. And this is the actual video where they took a screen capture of all the public hearing footage of all the people who come to citizen comments and how their voices were ignored by the public policymakers. But that's way too serious. So let's move on to the actual presentation, service learning. And what happened was I was in correspondence with a friend of mine up at City Hall, and I was actually poking fun of myself because I do all these crazy blogs, and they were going to pass this texting and driving initiative, and I said, oops. I sent her an email. I said, maybe I should stop doing those video blogs before I get a ticket. And her suggestion is, why don't you have your students make a PSA? So literally within 24 hours, we had the video. It was a flash project that we did. So within 24 hours, we created this project. Pull my notes up real quick. So it was literally envisioned within 24 hours. And we got clearance through university marketing on this, and it was a wonderful opportunity for my public speaking students to analyze the behavior that their colleagues engage in, right? You know, they're all, I text and drive, I'm bad, I don't do it anymore, but all of us do it. So it's something for them to deconstruct their own behavior, tied into the curriculum, and we did it within 24 hours. And it was also obviously to craft that persuasive message. So yes, I do everything on the fly, and it was great because literally not only did I walk into the classroom that day and I said, y'all have an option. You can either do this or you can do this, and half the class took me up on it. And it was actually the introverted students who wanted to be the primaries in the ad, which I thought was wonderful. So within 20 minutes, the groups split up, they wrote the script. The rest of the students said, we don't want to act, we want to be background actors. And then we shot it in 20 minutes. I went home, I cut it in 20 minutes, and it was uploaded. So literally within an hour we had this done. The biggest holdup was getting in contact with university marketing. And if you guys know me, I'm really chill, but when I want something, I'm not going to let you go. Part of the activism stuff. So I just kept on the horn until I finally got the workflow. So the goal, like my colleagues were talking about the goals. The first one, this is the Capes Camp is the neighborhood that was flooded out. So I'd like to do a lot of performance argument stuff with my YouTube channel. So we demonstrated that we could do a flash project within 24 hours. So maybe in their future goals, if something happens, a student knows, I can do this. I can really stand up, make a stand. I don't have to do this grand scheme of planning things. I don't have to have a committee or a team. I can do this on my own. Like I said, my introverted students did awesome. They were the ones that really rose to the occasion. And I always tell them it's the introverted ones who really put the thought through, and they always shine. I'm not sure why that is. I'm one of those people also, but it just seems like that happens. I also thought that it demonstrates to them that the assessments we do as public speaking to professors are not just academic endeavors, but they actually have real world impact. I went gluten-free like a year ago, lost all this weight, and it was from like those gluten-free speeches. You know, the shoes I wear from the speech, like the vibrants I usually wear, not these ones, are from those students who give me these cool persuasive speeches. It also shows that we can have, we can change lives with our assessments, and then obviously new skill sets, whether it's video editing or writing up a script, learning how to plant, how to identify poison ivy, you know, all those sorts of things. And then classroom bonding, which I believe all of my colleagues have also covered. As far as the planning process, there was none. We just catch that train and we ride it to wherever it's going to go. And we hope it's going to turn out. So these are some of the things that in that planning process, while I was riding that train, I thought of. First of all, we made it consensus. They voted if they wanted to participate, and then they voted on their script. Okay, so it was all, there was no majority rule. It was a flash situation, so we created it within a quick period of time to demonstrate you can create a rhetorical message with force in a very limited amount of time. And as y'all know, in the activism world or political world, you have to strike back when something happens. You can't just wait. So hopefully that will engage them to think that your voice is powerful. You don't have to have this long planning out process. I was very proactive with procedure because I didn't want to get fired over this idea, right? So I cleared it with my boss. I cleared it with university marketing, and then also the students all had to have their release forms. It was fluid. So I let the students make their own decisions. We didn't overthink things too much, and we were very flexible with how we approached it. It was obviously student-centered because they wrote the script. We were very concerned about safety because I didn't want to fly off the car or someone get hurt. We were staging. When you see in the end, there's a stage scene where people get hit, so we didn't want that to be too realistic. We wanted the optics to reflect our institution, put a good face for ACC, but also the optics for the city of San Marcos, because this, after all, was a PSA that we were doing for them, right? And then finally, the internal, external audience, not only ACC, but also the city of San Marcos, and then the people who would see this online. So the student process, for me, the goals were to give the students an option. Obviously, they wrote and acted in it. This is a shot of me out in front of City Hall, and I have speech anxiety, but I nail it to the wall whenever I go to the mic. And so that's the thing I like to teach my students is if you believe in your message, and right? And you don't really care what your audience thinks. They can throw tomatoes at you and you'll be just fine, right? And I've come close to being a victim of that, but not yet. So as far as the students' rewards are concerned, I taught on Valentine's Day and it was a great class. I actually administered a test and we had a blast. So here's the video. Whoop.
Stop playing with your phone.
It'll be fine.
Count your phone. Count it.
No, 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 no.
See how realistic that was with those kids like coming up to the car? So that was their thing. This guy wrote it. It was his car. And him and the young lady are both very introverted students. So I think I'm almost, that's all, I'm almost there. And I think that's it. I'm not sure how to scroll after oh, here we go. I rarely use visual aids, so it's difficult. Okay, so I guess the final closer here is, what did I learn? Because I learned something obviously too, right? I've been an environmental activist all these times, and these are some screen captures of the Hands Free Ordinance. But I think what I learned also as an activist is that I can work collaboratively with City Hall also. So it was a good little lesson for me as well. I don't think I have anything else. The outcome is, you know, we put the ad together, and so it's just been something nice for me to reflect on as a professor. So, right, cool.
I'm glad you're alive.
I know.
This is so cute. I've been out of town and my poor cat is sitting there waiting for me.